How you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. Today I'm going to tell you a tale of high adventure that occurred a few weeks ago and is actually related to the mask mandate that, interestingly enough, was dissolved the day after this incident occurred, which is kind of hilarious. At the time, though, even though the mask mandate was in effect, Nevada was one of only 8 states, I think, that still had any kind of mask mandate because of our stupid governor. And I personally flagrantly disregarded this at all times pretty much. The only time I ever really wore a mask was if I had to physically get on a plane, and I wouldn't even wear it in the airport, and occasionally in a casino if I had some degenerate business to attend to. Most of the time carrying around a drink, and if they look at you to start drinking, would be enough. But this incident occurred when I had to go to Harbor Freight, of all places. I needed some kind of tool that was going to break on its second use in a disastrous way. And I think I just needed some multi-head screwdriver or something like that. And so I had just been running errands throughout the day, went to Harbor Freight, wasn't thinking much of it, wasn't wearing my mask as usual. And just as a brief aside, I would never give any employees anywhere a hard time about the mask thing when they did say something, which by this point no one was saying anything. Early on people would say things and I would usually just say no thank you, or I'm not going to wear one. And if they really if they wanted to make an issue out, I would just leave. I wouldn't give them a hard time. But any individual people, all bets are off. I'm not going to put up with any nonsense from just another person who doesn't even work there. But interestingly enough, that had not really happened at all up to that point. I had one person approach me in a positive way and be like, hey, thanks for being one of the only sane people. And one person who may have mumbled something at me, but when I said, what was that? They were just like, well, nothing, have a nice day. And that was the end of it. So, it hadn't been an issue up until that point. But I didn't wear them anyway. So on this fateful day, wandering around the Harbor Freight, just looking for whatever it was that I was looking for. Like I said, I think it was some multi-head screwdriver. And there weren't too many people in there, but as usual, everyone else in the place was wearing them, these masks, which was a theme everywhere I went. Even at this point, the day before they finally rescinded the mandates. We didn't know at the time that they were going to be doing it the next day, effective immediately, but it was pretty late. Like I said, this was only a couple weeks ago. And everywhere I went, still everyone else had them on except for me. So I didn't think much of that, other than this ridiculous sheeple behavior. But I was walking down one particular aisle, and this kind of disheveled, goofy-looking NPC dude, but otherwise normal-looking. Actually, he wasn't even normal-looking. He was probably like a hunchback or something. Really disheveled, kind of hobo-looking guy. Kind of flattened up against the wall as soon as I walked by, like he was just literally dove on the wall and mumbled something at me, and I didn't really hear what he said. All I heard was like mask. So I was like, I'm assuming it was something related to a mask, but I, wanted to give him the benefit of their doubt and not just lash out on him. So I was just like, what? And he said it a little louder this time, but still flattened against the wall, mumbling at me. He was like, don't come near me without a mask on. And so I just stopped and fully turned around at that point, and I was like, why don't you quit mumbling and speak up, pussy? And at that point he was like, it was like I slapped him in the face. He literally kind of like stumbled back in shock, which I wasn't really expecting. But, and then he started fumbling with his keys real quick and was like, you're gonna hear this, and then literally ran out of the store. Like straight up ran out. And at that point I'm thinking like, oh shit, here we go. This guy's gonna come back in with a gun. And so I went to basically, not yet, but like reach for mine, and then I remembered, which this is stupid and infuriating at the time, that I had literally, even though I've been carrying it around all day, literally the entire day, I had my LCP in a pocket holster in my jacket. Not the best way to carry, but as always, anything is better than nothing when it comes to self-defense. Better to have it with you in any capacity than not at all. So I had it in a pocket holster in my jacket. This was one of those Vegas days where it starts out at 40 degrees, and then by noon it's 90 degrees, like a legit 40 or 50 degree temperature swing. I had been out all day. This was my last errand. I thought it was gonna take like 3 minutes, so I just decided to leave the jacket in the car right then, which is obviously hilarious if that's the way it works. So I did not have it on me. So I was just like, oh shit, I don't have my gun on me. This guy's about to come back in here and start blasting. And but what I did have is I remembered I had my fresh coffee that I just gotten at the gas station, and I had a knife on me as always. So I was like, all right, the plan is keep an eye on this guy. When he walks back in or comes back in, I'm gonna, I can see out through the door. I could see him leave and everything. I was like, if I see him coming back in, I'll just hide by the edge of the door. Hot coffee to the eyes laid out, grab the knife, slash the femoral artery, double stab to the armpit, Steven Seagal style. And should take care of business, right? So like I said, I was half expecting him to come back in, half thinking this guy might just come back in with a bullhorn or a noisemaker or something like that. Or his crazy girlfriend to also yell at me. Like, this guy was obviously not a normal person. He was kind of unstable looking and acting. So who knows? But obviously, he made it pretty clear that something was going to happen, so I needed to be alert. But I watched him. All he did was run out into his jalopy that looked like he lived out of it and drove off. And that was pretty much the end of it. So kind of an anticlimactic ending to the whole thing. But, good. No, want to have to get into a stab out / shootout. / coffee out, whatever you want to call it, any sort of altercation. And it just goes to show you a few lessons, obviously, that first of all, you don't mess with the guy with the Killdozer shirt on. That's just bad business. And, don't try to start shit if you're not ready to do something about it on either side. Because like I said, this guy could have started a fight. Obviously, I didn't start anything, but if you want to look at a technical perspective, obviously it's better to just ignore people. You don't have to talk back to them. I'm not that good at that. But obviously having your weapon / weapons on you as much as possible. I felt really stupid to have carried it the whole day and not have it with me at that exact moment. And so I'm always working now to be able to carry it as often as possible. Still can't do it all the time. But I'm working with different holster systems, even different pants, things like that to try to make it possible. And I do always make sure I have some kind of knife on me and ready to use it for tool purposes, self-defense purposes if it became necessary. So always having some kind of plan is important. So definitely interesting story. Just thought you guys might appreciate that. Let me know what you guys think and if anything similar happened to you. There are only a few places left in the US that's really still masked, and but that's probably where most of these super carriers are going to pop up. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you later.